good, guys? It's Ilson4K, and today we're keeping it moving here on Spooky Season with Halloween 3 Into the Unknown right here on my channel, IllTV, with another unknown horror movie that you definitely need to check out. And for those of you asking, what the hell is Halloween? Halloween is a month-long celebration of horror movies that take place on or around Halloween that we do here on my channel for the third year in a row now, and this year we're doing things a little bit different. Instead of looking at the films that everybody seems to know in this genre that's very popular, we're looking at the lesser-known films in this area, and some of them are good and some of them are bad, but this is definitely a good one that you should check out. This is an anthology film that actually has a bunch of cool little stories within it. Actually, 10 stories. Yes, 10 stories, and they all take place on Halloween night and intertwine with one another. Are we talking about Trick or Treat? No, we're actually talking about Tales of Halloween. That's an awesome little anthology film in its own right and does its own thing and really actually makes its own little way. And while all the stories in this film aren't home runs, I mean, there is 10 of them, all of them are pretty damn good, and most of them are really good, to be quite honest with you. So definitely check it out with us right now as we take a look at that film. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel, and make sure you stick around all month long for more Halloween 3 Into the Unknown horror movie reviews. The plot to this film is that there really is no plot. It's actually 10 different stories. Yes, count them. 10 different stories being told on Halloween night, with some of the stories interlapping into one another, and each story actually being wildly imaginative. I mean, there's some really cool stuff here. I mean, the first story out the gate is about a demon that if you don't leave candy out for him, he'll come and eat you alive, and it actually happens, of course, to someone. From there, we move on to this whole affair of a kid who finds out that one of his neighbors that he thinks is a pain in the ass is actually the devil and takes the kid out for a whole night of a leisurely stroll of causing chaos after he catches him egging his house. It's something that really you just have to see to believe to understand all these different plot lines. There's one where a guy is in a relationship with a woman who has like a split personality that's like a demon and is like really abusive to him. It's really creepy. That one actually creeped me out the most, even though it's not really the scariest. It's just by far easily to me the creepiest one of the bunch. And there's just a whole bunch from there that are really imaginative and unbelievable, including a guys who try to kidnap a millionaire's son and find out they got more than they bargained for. It's just very imaginative and very awesome to see something so unique really take the idea of being an anthology film and run with it. But I won't lie, 10 films is a lot of films to put inside of a film that is only an hour and 44 minutes long, so you might wish you had a little bit more out of some films, but you'll definitely be glad other films are as short as they are, because again, while they're not all great films, they're all really good films, and most of them are actually great films.
Out here and the one from last year is gone.
Flowers die. Somebody takes them away.
Yeah, a little spit and polish to clean this up.
So, right off the bat, I'll answer the burning question we all have. How does it compare to Trick or Treat? Well, to be quite honest, it doesn't compare to Trick or Treat. But see, Trick or Treat is like one of those pinnacle horror movies that not anything really compares to be quite honest with you. It's got its own league and its own lane, and it's not fair to compare any film to that. But this film right here, regardless of that, is fantastic. It has its own vibes, it has its own mysticism, it has its own personality, and it really has fun with this.
Joking me? What are you doing out here by yourself? It's not funny! It's not funny!
Even though some of the stories feel like it would have been better if they were longer, and some of the stories weren't all home runs, they're all still, like I said, really good stories, and most of them are great stories. The way the film sets up the vibe, it just kind of like lets you know it's going to be intense right out the gate with a lot of like this whole sweet tooth candy gory thing.
You don't share your candy with him? He will come and take it. All of it. Even the candy you've already eaten. Anything to sap.
And then from there we move on to the kid who ends up trying to find out that like his neighbor is Satan and he gets in trouble and he ends up getting shot. This movie really ramps up the insanity right out the gate. And it's completely hilarious. It's kind of scary and hilarious all at once. Some stories are scary, some stories are funny, but the whole thing is just fantastically well done, and I am a huge fan of it, to be quite honest with you.
By the way, Billy, is your mother dressing up again this year?
One thing I do have to say, though, is the gore is awesome. I mean, the gore in this film is perfect. Gore, gore, gore. Plenty of gore. First kill right out the gate is gory, and it just gets more and more gory from there. A lot of crazy things happen. And a lot of like violent imagery as well. The virtual effects in this are actually pretty cool as well, as that little alien that possesses that woman that starts that fight with that other gigantic monster that killed her in the first place. That's a really cool effect too. Both the monster and the woman looked really good too in the whole SFX apartment right there. I mean, I was really blown away with how they handled that. The whole film has this awesome vibe of mostly practical effects. There's the devil who looks fantastic with how his horns are, and there's just this whole charm to every story that's really unique and makes each story its own. And like I said, for something that has 10 stories in it, yes, I know, 10 stories, and the film is only like an hour and 45 minutes long, it's still really enjoyable, and there are no real bad stories. There are just some stories that are like, all right, that wasn't really as good as the other ones, but it's still pretty good. And the stories go from slapsticky to violent to back to slapsticky. It's just a film that really knows what it's trying to do and understands its audience very well. And I totally suggest that you watch it because, again, it's just so damn cool.
Trick or treat.
When I first started watching this film, I realized right away, hey, I had seen this film before, started watching it, and for whatever reason never got to finish it. And I'm not sure why, because I think I made it up to like the second story, and it was actually a pretty damn good film, and I was really upset that I didn't finish it, but found it all these years later, and I really enjoyed it. I gotta tell you, even though it has 10 stories in it, it's still pretty damn good. Like I said before, there's no real bad stories in it, but 10 stories is probably the most I've ever heard of in a horror film. I think that's like the amount of the first two Creep shows combined or something, right? I think that'd be like 2 times the Trick or Treat movie, right? And speaking of Trick or Treat, it's so easy to see why people would like write this off, or if they heard about it, or if they saw it like being described on a streaming network, they'd anticipate it to be a Trick or Treat knockoff, but it's not a Trick or Treat knockoff at all. In no way, shape, or form does it even try to emulate Trick or Treat. I don't think there's even really that much crossover in the storytelling department. You gotta figure with 10 stories, there has to be something, but it's nothing deliberate and nothing that was like, oh wow, it's crystal clear where they got that idea from. This movie has its own execution, its own pacing, its own personality, as you've heard me say, and the stories, again, are just really fun and really awesome. And even if they're not up to par with Trick or Treat stories, not many movies really are up to par with Trick or Treat, as you heard me say, and I don't think it's really fair to compare that film to this. This is a film that standalone on its own is actually a great horror film, and something you should totally add every year to your watch list if you haven't already, or at least give it a go this year just to see how you liked it, because we're pretty late in the season, but there's still plenty of time to watch awesome horror movies. They don't all have to be cheesy or bad horror movies. And if you have watched this film, make sure you comment down below. And if you just started watching my channel, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel and stick around all month long for more Horrorween 3 Into the Unknown horror movie reviews that we'll be doing. Don't forget, catch me every Thursday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, twitch.tv/ILLTV4K, streaming for the Total Terror Thon Thursday, the scariest night in video game streaming. And then after that, Spooktactular Saturday streaming at 10:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time as well. You can find me over there streaming horror games a little bit more. And we're going to continue doing this for the rest of the month. And one last thing, don't forget, you're watching ILLTV, where if it's pop culture, you know it pops up here. Happy Halloween on behalf of ILLTV, where if it's pop culture, you know it pops up here.